Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Apparently, Dr. Shekhi, you hear me, right?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start inshallah right at 7 o'clock. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear friends and dear brothers and sisters, first of all, I would like to express my deepest condolences to all of you, in particular, our honorable sister, Sister Nasirian, and the father of our dear Ibrahim, and the sisters of Ibrahim, and to all of you, the classmates, friends, relatives, and all the City of Knowledge administration members, as well as all the teachers and all the students. We have lost a young man, a man of faith, a man of dignity and honor. It was very, very soon. Before I start, I just wanted to mention one thing, that I had put some time in it to figure it out when I see some individual who loses his life very early. After weeks of reading and contemplating, I found out that there are some people that God wills to take them to Him in a young age before they get polluted. I really came to this conclusion. So I personally would rather die early when I see that I could be corrupt later on, and I would like to go meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with as pure as I could be. So we're going to start the recitation of the Holy Quran. And before I start, please go ahead and recite Surah Al-Hamd with a salawat for the pure soul of Ibrahim. May Allah bless his soul. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawm al-Din. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشروا بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين وضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذوا من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. I'd like to ask all my brothers and sisters who are watching us to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the chapter of the opening, for the pure soul of Ibrahim, our dear Ibrahim Binesh, and preceded by a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Thank you.
Thank you for the beautiful recitation, Brother Samir.
Thank you, Brother Samir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you to everyone who is joining us today to remember Ibrahim Binesh. Over the last week and a half, as Ibrahim's family, friends, and community have been mourning Ibrahim's loss, many of us have reflected on the kind of person he was. He was kind to everyone, whether or not they knew him, and regardless of how they acted towards him. He was always smiling, supportive, and there for his friends and family. He had a great sense of humor and was a ray of sunshine for those around him. He was extremely generous with his time, money, and his efforts, extending himself to anyone and everyone in need. And above all, he had a pure, kind soul. We pray that he's in the mercy of Allah, being treated the same way he treated others, which is with true goodness. I'll give you an overview of today's program and then introduce our first speaker. We are first going to listen to a speech by Sheikh Trenton Carl, followed by a short video. We will then move on to eulogies by Ibrahim's friends and family, and then we will close. With that said, I would like to introduce Sheikh Trenton Carl. Sheikh Trenton is a graduate of the Ahlul Bayt Islamic Seminary, where he studied the core traditional Islamic curriculum and is currently continuing his studies. He works with several Muslim educational initiatives, is an editor of the seminary's publication, and is the director of the seminary's summer education program. He received a BA in Islamic World Studies from DePaul University, where he was active in several student organizations. After graduating, he worked as a research and teaching assistant in the Islamic World Studies program at DePaul University. He resides in Chicago with his wife. Sheikh Trenton, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and assalamu alaikum to everybody gathering here this evening. It's an honor to be here, and I did not know the dear brother personally, but based on the outpouring that I've seen on social media, that loss is mine. Everybody has said wonderful and beautiful things about the way he led his life, and so it's an honor to be here with you all to commemorate his life and to pray for the well-being of his hereafter. So let us begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. We begin in the name of God, the compassionate and the merciful. We ask that he send abundant blessings upon our noble messenger, Muhammad al-Mustafa, and upon his immaculate progeny. Again, Greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum to everyone gathering here this evening. I want to just take a moment this evening, a moment of your time, to reflect on kind of the grief that we're engaging in, the grief that we're feeling in our hearts due to the passing of Brother Ibrahim, and how to not just cope with it, but rather how to take it almost, if you will, if you'll just follow me, take that grief as a gift. In a sense, to take his passing as a parting gift to us, so that we may have a better chance of seeing him again, inshaAllah ta'ala, in the hereafter. The Quran is full of allusions to death, verses about death, you know, God being the one who gives life and gives death itself. But I just want to focus quickly on a surah that we're all familiar with, that we perhaps recite in our daily prayers, in Surah Al-Asr. Surah Al-Asr gives us, despite being terse and short, it gives us kind of the package for us to be able to deal with death and deal with our own impending death in kind of the most successful ways. So as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wal-Asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr. That God swears by time that humankind is in a state of loss, khusr. And what some of our mufassirin, some of our scholars of the Quran, the way they describe this state of loss that all humankind are in can be described or can be illustrated by thinking about somebody who was, think in pre-modern times, there's no freezer, people who are selling ice. This khosr is one who's losing capital moment by moment. So if you think of yourself as an ice seller in a desert, your product that you're selling moment by moment is melting away. And the ice is only worthwhile, or is only worth anything insofar as you can sell it to cool other people, to cool their drinks, to cool their homes, whatever. And so that is our natural state, or that not our natural state, but the natural state of the material world. It's constantly in flux, and it is constantly in a state of decay from one perspective. And so God describes humankind as being in a constant state of perpetual decay. Our bodies grow and then they begin to deteriorate. Our strength grows and then it begins to wane. Our power, our health is good one day and then is slipping away the next. So that is our trajectory. It's our telos in life, that we are in a state of decay. But then God, of course, gives us something to think about here. Right? There's an exception to this, right? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So God says that our natural state is to decay unless we have a particular set of spiritual qualities, unless we have a particular direction and inclination in our lives. That is to have iman, to have knowledge and to have conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in God, and to move our life in his direction, right? To act correctly, Amin Rizvi, right? And to enjoin people toward the truth, and to enjoin people toward not just patience, but perseverance in their lives. And so, insofar as our dear brother and all of the stories that I hear illustrate this about him, yes, his material life was in a state of flux. It was in a state of decay, a state of khosr. But his spiritual life, we pray and we hope, because we don't know the reality of anything, but we pray and we hope and we saw that his spiritual life was in an upward trajectory, not in a state of loss, but in a state of ascension toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, that insofar as our lives are bound to the material world, insofar as our lives are bound to material pleasures, Netflixing, Instagram, hanging out, all those things fine in moderation. But if that is the crux of our life, if that is the core of our life, right? If every moment we're concerned about seeking a bigger home, seeking a better car, seeking power, so on and so forth. Again, from one perspective, those can be fine. But if those are the core values in our lives, then we're in a state of loss. We are ice melting the desert. We are ice melting the desert sun. But insofar as we are approaching the material world with spiritual lenses, if you will, right? We are projecting our life through the prism of spiritual growth, of seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of caring for the poor, of loving our families, of connecting ourselves to God in the evenings and the nights, of course, doing our basic fasts and doing our basic prayers, but of trying to make the world a better place. Insofar as we are doing that, we are no longer in a state of loss, but we are in a state of growth. Though our material bodies may be deteriorating, our material bodies may be slipping away from us, our health may be slipping away from us, internally, the eternal element of our lives, the soul, is bound to God and is thus bound to a positive world of eternity. And so this reminds me of a teaching by Imam Ali. It's commonly cited. I'm just paraphrasing here, that the world, the material world, is similar to a farm. Right? The material world is like a farm, and we, more or less we reap what we sow. So our deeds are the seeds that we plant in this world. And then we harvest whatever comes out of our deeds in this world in the hereafter. As some of the Urafa, the mystics will say, is that we will simply see exactly what we planted in this world. Whatever we did, whatever the nature of our deeds are in this world, we will just see the other side of it, the reality of those deeds, once we pass on to the next. But if we think of it as a farm, you can try to imagine what farming is, right? Farming is backbreaking work. Think pre-agribusiness farming, but first you have to dig into the soil. The soil may be tough, may be dry. And then you have to take those seeds, plant them, right? So you've broken your back trying to create acres of farmland, for instance, and you've taken the seeds and you've properly spaced them out. You've planned your farm out, and then you've covered the seeds, and now it's just a matter of waiting. It's just a matter of having patience. And so you don't have your immediate reward now. You have to wait several months before those seeds even become saplings. And then perhaps years, depending on the type of, if you're planting an orchard, for instance, you're going to be waiting years for those trees to eventually bear fruit. But through that time of waiting, you're not just sitting back and relaxing. You have to nurture those plants. You have to clean up the soil around it of invasive species, and by weeding, right? You have to water those plants correctly. You have to protect the plants from certain pests. You have to, pests including fungus and things like that. You have to nurture the plant. You're raising the plant, right? You're raising not just one plant, but the entire orchard or the entire farm. And so it's a matter of having patience, but it's a matter of also cultivating your farm. And then it is only after all of that time, through all of that work, that perhaps you'll find something positive come out of it. If you've done your acts correctly, then toward the end, you'll have the beauty of the fruit that comes in cultivation time, right? You have the sweet nectar of the fruit, for instance. You have the sustenance from the fruit. And that is just a mirror of what life is. If we act correctly, if we have a proper understanding of how the farm should be taken care of and cultivated, then when we pass on, no matter how short or long our life is, when we pass on, then we're happy to go into our orchard because we planted things correctly. And so that is how we deal with some of the issue, the feeling of grief when somebody so young has passed, is that, yes, from a quantitative perspective, his life was short, but from a qualitative perspective, his life was rich in meaning. No family, no child, or no parent rather, should have to bury their child, but we can take some solace in the hope that that life was a life lived full of meaning. And then we can take some solace in taking some lessons from his own life, or rather taking lessons from that passing on and following in his footsteps of righteousness. So I just want to read very quickly, a couple of lines from Imam Zain al-Abidin's dua for when death was mentioned. And we won't deal with the Arabic, just keep it clear and simple for us, and look at a couple of these lines, because I think sometimes the way we approach the idea of death, we mediate it through various cultural lenses. And when I read this dua, it really shakes me the way the Imam conceives of death. It's not simply something scary, but if we approach life in the proper way, death can be something very natural for us. And death can be something, even in a sense, don't take it the wrong way, but in a sense, death is something that can be longed for. Not vis-a-vis the destruction of the material body, but again, vis-a-vis in terms of looking forward to the spiritual pleasure that comes in the hereafter, if we've lived a life of righteousness, of iman, of amin al-salih, and so on and so forth. So the Imam starts the dua by asking God to spare us drawn out expectations. Right? It says, Ikfina tul al-amal. This is one of the interesting elements of our lives, is that while God describes our lives as constantly in a state of flux and decay, we are constantly in our minds thinking of life as expected. When I fall asleep, I'm expecting the sun to rise on me again tomorrow. I don't expect to pass in my sleep. I'm expecting that it's coming, that life is coming again tomorrow. I'll wake up from my slumber, right? I expect that after this sentence that I'm about to finish, I'm going to finish another sentence thereafter. I expect that after this speech, I'm going to close my computer and I'm going to go and spend time with my family, and so on and so forth. It is one of our delusions, in a sense, that we expect moment to moment the next moment thereafter. And the Imam says that the thrust of the initial part of this dua is to ask God to cut us off from that expectation, to recognize the reality that death is around the corner for every one of us, that death is a reality, and that our life is not in our hands at all. Our life is a gift bestowed upon us by a God moment to moment, that he is, in a sense, recreating not just my life, not just your life, but he's, in a sense, recreating the entirety of the cosmos moment by moment. He is nurturing us. That's the idea of being a Rabb, of what being a Lord is. He's nurturing at every moment, emanating existence at every moment. But we expect that it's ours to have. It's ours to keep. I'm going to have 60, 70 years. So I'm going to skip prayer today. I'll do forgiveness tomorrow. And when I get older, I'll make up those prayers. Or I have a particular habit, a negative habit that I have. It's fine. Tomorrow I'll take care of it. And then tomorrow I'll take care of it. And then tomorrow I'll take care of it, and so on and so forth. The Imam is saying, cut us off from the hope that our lives are in our hands and that our lives are going to continue to exist from here throughout our old age. We should expect that death is around the corner from each of us. And he even says, it's very interesting, says, do not let us hope that we will complete an hour after an hour, a day after a day, a breath after a breath. Don't even expect the next breath to come. That should be the state of mind that we're in. Then he ends with saying, a step. Do not let us even expect our next step after the first step. Think about people who walk all the time. We expect that the next step will come. He's saying, bring death so clear in our minds that we don't expect the next step to even occur. And then he says something really very interesting, that says, "Wansib al-mauta bayna aydina nasban," that we should see death as if it's between our hands. Right? It's kind of translated clunkily as make death apparent to us, but the metaphor is really beautiful in Arabic, that it should be as if death is right in front of us. Beina Yadayhim is to be right in front of us. That is how we should be perceiving death. So in a sense, it's morbid. Like the Imam almost starts off this this dua in a kind of a very heavy, almost morbid and scary fashion. But the Imam continues by giving us this solution, which we also see mirrored in Surah Al-Asr. This solution, or this salve, if you will, this sense of solace from that fear of death being immediate for us. And he says that appoint for us from among the righteous works, a work through which we will feel the homecoming to you as being slow. In other words, to make that a little more clear, the Imam is saying, give us the power and strength to live our lives in such a way, to act in such a way that we have confidence in your mercy, because we know we've done what we ought to do. We know we've taken care of all of our requirements and we've lived a life of righteousness. Give us the strength to live in that way such that I almost long for death. And literally the Arabic is saying that we feel that our return back to you, to God, is coming too slowly for us, because we're hoping for God's mercy. We're longing for God's mercy. We're longing for that bliss in heaven, not just the super sensual elements of Jannah, but the being in the bliss of Nur of God, right? To be enwrapped by the mercy of God, being enwrapped in the love of God. So it says, basically, let us live a life such that we hope for our hereafter. So while death is immediate for us, we're conceiving it not as the end of us, but we're simply seeing it as a positive next stage in our eternal lives, right? When we get wrapped up in the kind of material elements of our lives, we begin to fear death. And that fear is really emanating from our recognition of our own weakness. Or it's a recognition of our own attachment to the dunya itself, our own attachment to materiality and to wanting to stay in this temporal state. If that's the case, then we have a lot of work to do. And if it's a fear of our weakness, then at least we've recognized that we have some work to do in a positive sense. If I've humbled myself enough to realize I don't expect to be in front of God's mercy because I've acted in XYZ type of way, then at least I have a way forward. But if we're so deluded that we fear death so much because we're so attached to this world, we don't want to go to God, we want to stay here, then we're kind of really in deep trouble. May God save us from that. And then he says, I won't read every line, but in so many words, he says, when death visits us, let us expect it as like a kind visitor. Let us think of it in a positive sense. Let us, again, don't take it the wrong way, not like we shouldn't be thinking about ending our lives, God forbid. But let us be comforted by death because we recognize that death is being enveloped by God. Right? But then again, he, just like sort of the Asr does, he gives us some conditions. He says, make us die while we are guided, not while we are astray. Make us die while we are obedient, not while we are kind of warring against you. Make us die while we are in a state of repentance, not in a state of persistent disobedience. So that is our job now. We have lost a brother, a son, a friend. If we want to meet him in the hereafter, if we want to take something positive from his passing, we should reform our lives so that we have that opportunity to be with him in the hereafter. So we have that opportunity to seek God's mercy for us, for our families, for his family, and so on and so forth. And that is where the last lines really are just the most beautiful to me. Ya damina jaza'in muhsinin. Oh God, you are the guarantor, the one who's promised the deeds, jaza, of those who are righteous, the muhsinin. وَمُسْتَصْلِحَ عَمَلَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. And oh God, you are the one who seeks to correct, to put back together the acts of those who are mufsid, those who are engaged in fasad, those of the sinners. In other words, that God doesn't want us to die broken. He's he's seeking to do salih to those who have done evil to him, or evil to themselves rather, because there's no evil for God. But in other words, God wants to mend the hearts of the sinners. God wants us to want to be with him so that we can be in harmony in the cosmos in the hereafter for the eternity. And so let us take this lesson, this experience of losing a loved one, of losing a friend, of losing, in my mind, someone who's a peer. He's only a few years younger than me. That shaking of us, it shakes our minds and it shakes our hearts when somebody young passes. So let us take that opportunity, or let us take that kind of lesson and move forward in our lives. We're approaching the month of Sha'ban. We're in the midst of the month of Rajab. We're approaching, of course, the month of Ramadan. And these months are kind of the spiritual seasons, peak spiritual seasons for us. Let us take the lesson from this loss and turn it into a beautiful cultivation of a beautiful orchard for us in the hereafter. Let us take this lesson of death, of an apparent sense of khusr, of losing the material body of a loved one, but then return that, or kind of flip that lesson on its head and beautify our own souls for the coming of the hereafter. Because as we've learned, death is around the corner. It's no longer just a textual idea from an old book. We've seen it. We've experienced it. And so many of us, in the last year, especially with the rise of COVID, so many of us have experienced it in all of our families. I've lost loved ones over the past several months. Everybody has either lost somebody or has known somebody who's lost somebody. And if this isn't a spiritual moment of spiritual reawakening for the entirety of the entire world, I don't know what is. So let us really intend to rectify our souls over the next several months and to put ourselves on a path toward God's mercy, to put ourselves on a path toward the loving God that wants to rectify the hearts of the sinners. We are all sinners, but God is trying to mend us. And he's giving us signs at every moment to help us shake out from our slumber, to awaken us from our slumber, so that we are with him, so we are with the sages, with the Prophet and Ali Muhammad, alayhim salam, and with our righteous kin, friends, and family in the hereafter. Let us end our brief reminder this evening with one more Al-Fatiha for the soul of our dear brother Ibrahim, preceded by a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. We pray for the mercy of God to be upon our dear brother's soul. We pray for perseverance and strength for his close friends, his family, especially his closest family, inshallah. May God bless you all, inshallah. Please remember me in your prayers. And please, if you haven't already, one of the most recommended acts that's often not emphasized in our communities is to give sadaqah on behalf of the departed. Making dua is important, reading Quran is important, but really giving money to the poor on the path on behalf of the one who has passed is something that is really emphasized in our literature. So I do encourage you all to do that. And may God bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Sheikh, for that enlightening and beautiful speech. It really does bring a lot of comfort to us. I know earlier in the program I mentioned that we were going to follow Sheikh Trenton's speech with a video, but plans have changed. Instead, we're going to move on to the speech portion of the program. So we are now going to have some of Ibrahim's friends and family say a few words about him. I'd like to start with Brother Naveed Karimi.
So I think I'll speak for both of us. I'm his brother Nadir. I didn't get to spend as much time with Ibrahim as I would have wanted, and I envy his friends that were able to. I'm not very good with grief, but I think within the last year, I've realized when somebody passes, stories help. So I'll share a story. A group of us guys go and play soccer, indoor soccer, once a week. And it's a way for people who don't really have time outside of that to come together and just kind of hang out and see each other. And I had known Ibrahim from when I was younger. He was 4 years older than me, roughly. And I hadn't seen him for a long time. And eventually this was a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago. It was indoor soccer. We had a game, and all of a sudden, Ibrahim Binesh pops up out of nowhere. A surprise, a beautiful surprise. And I hadn't seen him in years, but he greeted me in Farsi as if I had just seen him the week prior. And he remembered everything about me. And so as the game started, we're playing this game. Ibrahim was just reckless. He would just run around and he'd just smack into people. And he, at one point in this game, starts saying, "I think my toe's broken. I think my foot's broken." But while doing this, he was still just laughing it off and still chasing that ball with the same energy and positivity that we all know him to have. And every time he'd bump into somebody, he'd say sorry, and then he'd just keep chasing the ball. And they would end up, whoever he bumped into would end up on the ground, but you just saw him running after the ball. And you knew every sorry he said was sincere. Every sorry he said he meant. He never meant to bump into anybody, to run into anybody, to tackle anybody. And I think our lives are made up of so many snippets that eventually make a moment. And every snippet that I can remember of Ibrahim was him smiling, was him happy. In the middle of a pandemic, we had an amazing amount of people show up to the funeral of this beautiful, beautiful man. And I think if anything symbolizes Ibrahim, it's the variety of people that showed up in the midst of everything going on, because Ibrahim got along with everyone. He can make a dictator his friend. If I can have that same positive energy that Ibrahim had, if any of us can, and we can rub that energy off the way Ibrahim did, I think we can all feel fulfillment, because at the end of the day, nothing is more beautiful than having the effect that we have on people. And there's nothing more that will symbolize Ibrahim than a smile. In every single picture you look at, a smile. And in every moment you remember, a smile. And I can't wait to hear more about him and the moments I wasn't there for through everybody else's stories tonight. Thank you for letting me speak and for having me.
Thank you, Brother Nader. I'm sorry I got your name wrong. I didn't mean to. Okay. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Amin Rizvi. Amin, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Oh, sorry. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. Please give me a thumbs up if it works. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amin Rizvi, and I had the esteemed honor of being one of Ibrahim's close friends, where I spent almost all of my high school with him, much of my college years, and many years beyond that. I consider myself very fortunate to have known him the way that I did. And I thought I'd take this chance to talk to you all a little bit about what it was like to have Ibrahim as a friend and what it means to me, so that for those of you who didn't know him can get a glimpse at what it was like, and for those of you who did, to remember the good times that we had together. So I'm gonna talk about two very specific things. First are the tenets in which Ibrahim lived his life. And the second is about the transitional periods in my life that Ibrahim affected so much that I just wouldn't be the same person without him. I quite frankly don't even know if I'd be here without him. So to give you a little background, I think I just need to start at the beginning, give a little background on myself, because a lot of you know me from City Knowledge. I came in 10th grade of high school, but I never really spoke about why. And there are two reasons why my family had moved down to Southern California, because I originally lived in Northern California. First was the passing of my great grandmother when I was 14. And the second reason was the duty my mother felt to provide me the best education possible. Not a traditional education, but also an education based in Islam, education in morals and ethics and reading the Quran and understanding Arabic, those kinds of things. And so for those two reasons, my family picked up everything we had and moved to Southern California. And I was enrolled at City of Knowledge. I say this because it wasn't easy for me. I fought my mother all along the way on our drives to Southern California. I still remember. I didn't want to do it. Not only had I lost my grandmother, who meant so much to me and was pivotal in my upbringing, but also I was losing all of my friends and the environment I was in. But little did I know that I was about to embark on one of the greatest journeys that I'll ever have, and that one of the biggest decisions in my life was about to be made right then and there. Because when I first came to City of Knowledge, I wasn't a happy kid. I didn't want to be there. I didn't know why I was there. And I tried to find any reason to be unhappy and to prove to my family that I wasn't happy. But unfortunately, there was this little kid that really spoiled those plans. I had met Ibrahim Binesh at the Masjid al-Nabi in West Covina. It was the first time I had met him before I'd actually gone to City of Knowledge. And as soon as you meet him, all of my friends will say, and you'll probably hear it many times, that this man had an abundant well of energy that to this day, none of our friends really know where he got it from. We have no clue. As soon as you met him, you were sucked into his gravity. Whatever you felt didn't matter anymore when you were around him, because he made every moment a moment. A moment where you would later go and think, man, Abraham, just out of nowhere, he just did these things. And so this young, nervous kid who had just come from Northern California, who didn't want to be there, soon saw himself around a friend that had showed out of nowhere just such tremendous, unconditional, and unquestionable love and support from the very minute I met him. And those are the tenets of Abraham Binesh that I want to talk about, because he was so consistent with this throughout his entire life. A specific story I want to talk about is during my first major transitional period, which was moving to Southern California and going to City of Knowledge. I can really culminate what Abraham Binesh meant to me in my last year of my senior year at City of Knowledge, where my family was actually finding it very difficult to live in the area and to have me going to school consistently. But wouldn't you know it, the friendship that I built with Abraham, without any question, he was like, stay with us. Him and his family, both, without question, said, stay with us. And I can tell you this, for the months that I stayed living in his room, not once did he ever make me feel like I wasn't wanted, like I was a burden, that I owed him anything. And he gave me so much. He gave me half of his room. I can't even, I thought about this. I was like, I can't even imagine someone giving half their room. I can't even imagine doing that with my sister. I want my personal space. And yet he gave me his bunk bed, which I slept above him. He gave me half of his cupboards to put my things in. He gave me half of his closet to put my clothes in. He gave me half of his desk so I could put my books so I could study. And he had a very humble room, Abraham. And we spent so many days in there talking, waking up in the mornings, running to rush to school. And I could talk his praises all day. But I can say the same for his family too, especially his mother and his sisters, Layla and Sheila. Seriously, Sister Fatima, thank you for instilling such beautiful qualities in your kids, because it has touched all of us so much. There's a reason why we're all here, because you guys mean so much to us. In the same way Abraham treated me without question, with unconditional love, so did you all. Not once did I feel like you guys didn't want me there, like I was a burden to you guys. It was so frictionless and so seamless. And at such a young age, I didn't even know how beautiful what I was saying was, what I was experiencing was, how your treatment of me was. And that's just part of my journey with Abraham. I have so many. I also had the esteemed honor of going to Hajj with him. And that is a whole nother story. If you want to know more, please ask me, because I have so much more to get through. But if it wasn't for Abraham, I wouldn't have known all of you. The more I thought about it, the more I realized he was the gateway to this community, because his love that he had at all times, I would walk and follow him as he talked and introduced me to people in this community. And for this place that I didn't want to be at as a kid, I found myself in love with it. I find myself constantly coming back. My mother always is like, why do you keep wanting to come back? It's hard. It's hard if you have to experience that kind of love. And Abraham showed me all of it. He showed me the beauty that this community has. And so that's the first transitional period, where Abraham changed me from a kid who didn't want to be there to one that didn't want to leave. And so I want to quickly go to the next transitional period of my life, is when I did have to leave. When I left the humble halls of City of Knowledge, our two hallways that we had, and going into a larger world, into a large campus. In this instance, I had been blessed to be accepted at UC Berkeley. And I had a lot of anxiety about going there. I was very nervous because of all the connections I had created at school, all the friendships that I've had that still mean so much to me today. But before I went and made my decision, I was going to UC Berkeley for something called Cal Day. It's a 2-day event where you are sponsored by members of the Muslim Student Association. You stay there a night, you meet fellow Muslims, they show you around and try to help inform you on your decisions before you make it. And I remember it was myself and Dalia Al-Bassam, we were gonna leave to go do this. And wouldn't you know it, Ibrahim out of nowhere comes and says, hey bro, I'm coming with you. And I was like, what? Okay. And for those of you who don't know, Ibrahim ended up going to San Francisco State. So the idea of him coming was just funny at first. I was like, why not? He was like, yeah, my mom thinks it'll be good for me. God, your mom is so wise. I honestly, gosh, because I had so much anxiety going. I didn't even know if I was going to fit in. I didn't even know if I belonged in this new world that I was about to go and enter. But when you said you were coming, I knew that it was going to be great. I knew it was going to be so much fun. And so I want to talk about a story of when we were at Berkeley together. Because I remember the first day at Caldame when I met up with him on campus. And wouldn't you know it, Abraham Binesh shows up at UC Berkeley with a Harvard University sweatshirt on. And I looked at him and I was like, man, what are you doing? Why, what are you doing, man? Why are you doing this? He was like, and Abraham never really explained why he did the things that he did. But I quickly learned why, or at least I think I know why. Because as soon as we met the first brother at the Muslim Student Association, he said, hey, assalamu alaikum, hey, welcome, you guys are the new kids here. And he looked at Abraham and he was like, hey, man, that's a great sweater. Do you go to Harvard? And this is when I learned. Abraham looked at him and he said, no, man, I'm kind of deciding between UC Berkeley and Harvard, and I'm not sure which one I want to go to yet, so I'm kind of figuring it out right now. And I looked at him with his eyes wide open when he was up to something, And I looked at him, shaking my head, just telepathically, just talking to him, saying, bro, what are you doing? How am I supposed to explain this? We're going to be found out. How am I supposed to explain this to these people? I'm trying to build connections here. What are you doing? But little did I know what he was really doing is really the genius of Abraham, which I want to highlight here, was that he had immediately taken away all of that anxiety, all that nervousness that I had, and he flipped it, just made it all about this game he was playing. And it was beautiful because I wasn't worried about whether or not I fit in. I was just having a good time dealing back in Abraham's world, and I was just living in it, And by God, was he so memorable too? Goodness. You wouldn't believe how many people he told he was picking between Harvard and Berkeley. It was so ridiculous that even after I had been accepted and finally went, I met so many people who were like, hey, assalamu alaikum, brother, good to see you, man. Hey, what happened to your friend Abraham? And I had to look them dead in the face, trying to keep a straight face. Just thinking, Ya Allah, Abraham, what have you done? Why have you look at the situation you put me in? And I said to him, yeah, man, he just didn't choose Berkeley. And I remember one of the brothers, he said, yeah, man, that makes sense. Harvard's a great school. I would have done the same. And somewhere, I laughed thinking that, man, I feel like there's a Muslim brother, Berkeley alumni somewhere out there that still thinks Abraham went to Harvard. And I'm sure Binesh loved that. I'm sure he loved that. And from then on, Binesh went to San Francisco State. He came by and visited very often. He would sublease he would live in my apartment every summer and take summer classes. He was so integral to my time there. So much so that even many years after graduating, people still ask me, even up until a few weeks ago before any of this, hey, how's Abraham? Where's Afshin? What is he doing? And I'll just tell you, not too many people ask me about a lot of my friends. But everyone always wanted to know what Abraham was up to. Everyone. And here's something I want to highlight is that those experiences that I had, those bonds that I formed in high school and in my undergraduate college were some of the strongest and most important bonds that I had. And the key to it all was that he was able to open me up out of my shell and create that level of comfort and support and love so that I could be myself and create these connections with people. Unfortunately, for those of you who are young out there who have friends, as you get older, your life path with your friends will eventually diverge one way or another. And after college, I decided to go to graduate school in Claremont, back in Southern California, while Abraham pursued his degree in computer science, which I was so happy he had found something. What a perfect thing for him to be in front of the computer. And that led to him eventually getting a job at a very prestigious tech company in Silicon Valley. And I was so proud of him. But at the same time, we had different life paths that were leading us in different directions. And so naturally, as will happen to most people and their friends, you just start to drift apart a little bit because life just has it in the cards for you. And now there's my third transitional period, which was grad school. And it was funny because when I think about my grad school, I can never pinpoint what it was about it that felt so different about my other transitional periods in my life. I realized I didn't have the same sort of bonds with people. And I never realized why. I could never pinpoint it. And it wasn't until I'd been sitting here thinking about Abraham the past few days where I realized that he was the reason why I was able to form these bonds. He was always there no matter what. And that was the key that was missing in these next transitional periods I was having. And so we're here now in what is another transitional period that all of us are experiencing. Me, his friends, his family, and the community that knows him and loves him. It's a transitional period into a world where he's not there. And this is a moment where I need him the most, because I know in any similar situation, he would have been here to help make fun of my situation, to make me forget about things, just like he had done time and time again. But I made a promise to myself that I was going to live by the tenets that Abraham taught me, how he gave undying love and support to everyone who came to him. There were so many people who would come up to me, and people who I'd seen as well, where they were at their lowest points, but every time they reached out to Ibrahim, it didn't matter who you were, what you were doing, where you came from, or what his situation was, he gave you whatever you needed. If you needed a place, he said, come on over, bro. This is going to be great. That's just how he saw things. He always saw the fun things, the good times that he was about to have. And it was so easy for me to understand that, because a lot of people don't know this, but me and Ibrahim are actually very similar people. We had a lot of similarities between us. We're both young Iranian kids who had the same love for sports and video games and TV shows that we would talk about for endless days and nights. We both couldn't grow a full beard till our 30s, even still. And we were both also had the same very similar upbringings. We're both raised by two very strong single mothers who raised not only us, but our sisters as well. And so I always felt like I understood him. It was as if I had met someone I had always known my entire life whenever I was with him. We never really had to explain ourselves to each other. So I'm going to continue that legacy that he taught me of how to love unconditionally, unquestionably, and support unquestionably. And I want you all to know, I'm just telling you all because there's so many of you on here, that if you are grieving and suffering or going through tough times, come talk to me. I'm sure some of my friends will speak this similarly. Come talk to us, come ask us, reach out to us, because that's what Abraham would have done. That is exactly what he would have done, and we're going to do the same in his honor, for his legacy. And there's one more thing I want to talk about before I end this. Something I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I want to say it. Is that for the past few days, it's all been very difficult. When someone like this, so close to you, that's so similar to your same age, passes away, you start questioning your own mortality. And I was starting to think about my own passing, because one day it'll happen to each and every one of us. Because Allah's the best of planners. He has some time decided for us. What has helped me a lot is knowing that when my time does come one day, that on the other side of it, my dear friend and brother will be there on the other side to help me through that last transitional period of my existence, and help me as he has done time and time again. It is a strong notion that I have. I don't know why I feel this, but it gives me tremendous peace. On behalf of Abraham and on behalf of myself and my family and friends who aren't here to speak, I just want to say, Ibrahim John, I love you. I will love you for eternity. We will miss you every single day until I see you again and see that charming smile and that infectious laugh of yours. I love you, brother. Please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha for Abraham, and please keep his family in your prayers. Jazakallah khair. Thank you all so much for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Brother Amin. That was so beautiful. I'm sorry. Let's move to the next speaker. That would be Brother Muhammad. Please, if you don't mind. Sorry, Brother Muhammad Muzagar. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm starting to think we should have put Amin last. That was a wonderful eulogy. Thank you very much. Really, I just have, three main points to talk about Afshin. One being, what he meant to me. Second, how he was during his life. And last, I'll talk about my favorite memory of him. So first point, what he meant to me, really summarized in one word, is really brother. That's how I looked at Afshin. We grew up together since the third grade, City of Knowledge once again. We loved each other very much. We also annoyed each other very much. He knew all of my buttons. I knew all of his. When we go to each other's houses, we were comfortable enough in each other's homes where, we didn't have to ask permission to do this or that. Didn't have to ask permission to open, his fridge or open my fridge. It was open because he was my brother. We used to travel together. We went to Hajj together as well, the same year. We went to Iran together, went to Mashhad together. There was a point in our lives where we just knew everything about each other. In high school, when we used to hang out every day, play soccer. We went through the stages of becoming men together. We've known each other since we're, 8 years old. We cared deeply for each other. Really what goes through my head is that it's very different burying a friend. It's not something that you expect in life. You expect to bury your parents, your grandparents, but you don't expect to bury a part of yourself, a friend, a brother. You don't expect that. Some of us, we had to do it multiple times, especially in our friend circle. But since Wednesday, I'm just glad that we were the ones who were able to, carry him to his new home. I'm glad we were all there for him to say the final farewell. We were there for his family. I'm glad we were able to do that for him. Now, second point is how he was during his life. Afshin was always the life of the party. That's what, Amin was also saying earlier. Was always in a great mood, energetic. Something special about Afshin is that he always found the silver lining in any situation. Similar to Amin's story about his transition to college, is that he always found that silver lining. Whenever I used to tell him, oh, I failed at something, I can't pursue this type of career, I would tell him about my backup plans, and he always made fun of me for having backup plans, because you're not supposed to have plan B. It's always about plan A. So if you don't succeed in a certain objective, you fall forward. You don't fall backward. You fall forward. And that was an important lesson I learned from him. He was always proud of who he was. That was a very attractive trait that he had. He was proud to be Muslim, proud to be Iranian, proud of his family, his friends. He held his head high at all times. That's who he was. And I learned how to be proud of who I was from him. Especially growing up, being from a foreign background in a country like this. It's very difficult, as all of us know. But he was always proud, and he showed us the way how to be proud. And I think this came up earlier too, but he had a certain way about him too. It's hard to put into words this certain characteristic, but people naturally gravitated toward Afshin. People felt safe with him. So they felt so safe that he naturally knew everything about them. Hence why there's so many people here right now. There's so many people at the funeral. Why do you think that is? Because people gravitated toward him. And that is the reason why he would always be remembered. Now, final point, favorite memory. I mean, there's so many. I was calling Amin before this, freaking out. I don't know what to say. You know, I don't know what memory to pick. Which one are you talking about? Let's align. You know, I called Ali Khattab as well, but there's so many. There's sleepovers. You know, times at Masjid Nabi we used to, take our cars back when we were 16 and just go to 7-Eleven. You know, get some snacks because we were bored. You know, and come back and people would notice we were gone. We got in trouble. You know, the soccer team, college, Hajj, Iran. You know, stories with both me, him, and Amin. But this one memory I want to focus on. Funny enough, it was the last time I saw him actually. This was at Abraham Seder's house. The last time we saw him, September 2020. He had came down, and there was a point where it was just me and him. You know, the boys had gone into the swimming pool, and me and him don't really like water, so we just stayed back. And I hadn't seen him in maybe 2 years. You know, this is back after he graduated and stuff. I kind of lost track, but we caught up again, and he caught me up. You know, from the point where he graduated, got his job, his internships. You know, from that point, and it was a different way that he was talking. He was talking like he was like, because he would usually, hide his emotions through humor and stuff. You never really got the real, Afshin Binesh. You always got, some sort of, spice on top, some humor. But this one was real, you know. There was no sugarcoating, nothing. It was just, I got my degree, this stuff happened. I finally got my dream job. I'm working at Cisco, Fortune 500 company. Just sounded so proud of who he was now. And likewise, I shared with him. And that's when we shared a moment that, we're no longer kids, we're no longer boys, but grown men. But we also realized we were boys who grew up together to become men. And that's not an experience that many people get to have. So that's a very unique experience. And it was an honor to be his brother. It's an honor to be his friend. And it's an honor to be here right now. And I offer my deepest condolences to him and his family, and to those who are close to him. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for those touching words. Next, I'd like to call up Yusuf Hijazi. Yusuf? Oh, okay. So Brother Yusuf is having some technical difficulties.
There it goes. Sorry about
there you are.
I was last minute preparing for this because I did have work today. I do have a little bit of a slideshow. I don't know if we have any other speakers planned for the rest of the night, but if not, I could definitely go ahead and start this little slideshow that I have started.
Yeah, I have a few more, but go ahead.
Am I able to share a screen here?
I think so. Sorry, just give me 1 second.
We'll make you a co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yusuf, I'm sorry to ask, what's your name under on your phone?
He's already a co-host.
Okay.
Am I still signed in on my phone? I was actually signed in on the phone on the way home. I'm on my computer now.
You should be able to share, Yusuf.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll give a little backstory here. I think we all know at this point, Binesh had the most energy out of anybody we've ever met. Um, I met this guy when he was very. Can you guys see my screen now? No, huh?
Not
Yeah.
yet. Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second here. How about now?
Yeah, we could see it now.
Okay. This is how I remember Binesh when I first met him. So I always wanted to guide Binesh in a way since day one I first met him. I kind of related to him because we both had two sisters and our mom, and we all lived just in a room full of girls all the time. So at a very young age, I connected with Binesh instantly, and I just remember, I remember the days in City of Knowledge with this little kid that had all the energy in the world. At a certain point, we used to live in the same apartment complex. It was me, Abraham Binesh, and Ali Abdi at one point, all living in the same apartment complex. And at the time, I didn't have a lot of friends outside of school, so I would always meet up with Binesh and Ali Abdi. Just little things that we used to do outside of school was a lot of Pokemon cards, which coincidentally is getting a lot more popular nowadays. But Binesh always was kind of the leader of the group. I mean, he was always the most confident. I honestly wish I had Binesh's confidence when it comes to talking to people, taking on a challenge, and just stepping up and doing what needs to be done. He definitely helped us get a lot of Charizards and Blastoise and Venusaurs back then. Here's another one of little Binesh. These pictures I actually took as a joke because we were visiting his house one day, and I'm sure his mom put these up all over the house. I had to take this picture because this is exactly how I remember Binesh from day one. I have this next one here. I actually didn't know Binesh went to Upland here. If I could get any backstory on that one, I'd sure like to hear that one. But I thought this picture was so funny because Binesh, being the smallest guy in our group, probably playing football, I never would have put two and two together. It's been mentioned plenty of times in here already, but our love for soccer always brought us together. And it seems like in this picture, it got a little warped. But it seems like Binesh was telling us a joke at this point, and you just see all our reactions just laughing at this guy. Because he always had something to say, or he always had a joke. But like people have mentioned before, he was always in a good mood. You rarely saw him in a bad mood. It would take a lot for him to get angry or to even say anything negative. One thing I always remember is in our group, we were always teasing each other, making fun of each other. But whenever I'd see Binesh get made fun of, or if I were to make fun of Binesh, he would just laugh. He wouldn't. He'd probably try to think of something to say back, but majority of the time he would always be laughing at himself and appreciating our jokes. Here's another from that day. I have a few videos that I wanted to share, but I think I'll share those at the end here. Here's another of Binesh later down the road. This was probably 2014 actually. We took a trip out to Tahoe. I'm sorry. We took a trip out to Tahoe and just I'm sorry, just seeing this guy makes me laugh, man. As we all know, we eventually grew up and people started to grow up in their lives, and Binesh definitely grew up. He moved to SF and he became successful up there. This was one of the trips that we took out there to visit him and Hassan Shakely when they were there at the time. Here's Binesh with his many faces, making jokes as always prepared for the photo shot. Here's another one with here's Binesh right here in the back. Brother Muhammad over here. Hassan right here. And Hassan Shakely. But our group has always been in communication. We've never lost that communication, and that's something that I'm happy to have, because it's really hard to stay in contact. And I know a lot of people are feeling guilty, especially me for the last few years. But that's life. Life keeps going, even though we don't want it to. It time doesn't stop, and we gotta just enjoy the little moments, enjoy our friends, enjoy our families, because we never know when it's going to be the last time we can. There's another one with Binesh. I think this one was supposed to be just me, Hassan, and Shakely, but Binesh stuck in there. Here's another one of Muhammad and Binesh. I'll probably get teased about this, but honestly, we got some pretty good looking guys in our group. All right, this one's another one with Binesh and Muhammad. One way we definitely kept in communication was through this application called Snapchat. Binesh would always, the majority of the time when we talked to Binesh was him initiating a call to all of us, and all of us just signing in and just trying to talk over the million voices at the same time. Here's another one with Binesh and SF making his faces as usual. I just wanted to show a little bit of a highlight of our soccer days, because that's something that we all definitely loved, and Binesh was actually pretty good at it. So I have a few videos here that I'm going to show. I have one that's pretty short here. Ooh, what did I do? There's Binesh right here. But yeah, this is something that we love doing, man. We loved playing soccer. We loved talking trash to each other, and we loved every moment together, man. I made a little highlight video of Binesh's skill. So enjoy this minute video.
Binesh.
That's Binesh in the tank top right here.
Stay with him. Fast. Bring it, or take it. Good job, Sergio. Finish this guy. All right. I got white. Good shit, Hijazi. Time. Bring it up. Go, make open, make a pass.
Come on, Binesh.
Binesh.
Thanks for that assist, Binesh. I don't know if you heard Sajjad in that video, but he calls him Ramos halfway through the video. If you don't know Sergio Ramos, he's a famous football player for Real Madrid, and that was Binesh's favorite soccer player. And he would always he would always call himself Ramos. So Binesh, in that honor, I made you a little edit. I hope you appreciate it. But here's Sergio Binesh right here. Final words is, I mean, this has been tough for all of us here. We lost a brother, we lost a friend, but we definitely got to appreciate all the memories we have with him and take that and learn everything that we can from what we learned from Binesh. Is be a good friend, be a good brother, be confident, reach your goals, and don't ever stop. Thank you for letting me share what I had today. God bless all of you. And I'll be here. We're all here for each other. So anyone ever needs to talk, you know, we're all here. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Brother Yusuf. It was beautiful. It was amazing to be able to see him in images. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next, I'd like to ask, you guys are lucky you're not hosting. Next, I'd like to ask Ali Khattab to speak. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you guys. Hello. Is my mic working?
Yeah, we hear you.
Well, I remember Binesh in so many ways. The biggest thing that I can take is that he just loved everyone. Everyone loved him. And I have so many memories with him, like countless. From times from going to San Francisco to go see him and stay with him for like a week. He was always welcoming to me, always willing to do anything, always willing to get any problem done. If I was looking for a job, help me right away. If I was looking for anything, he would help me. If he had food, he'd share it with me all the time. He even taught me a little more about Iranian foods. So I have him to thank for that. Like ghormeh sabzi, that stuff is really good. Binesh, from my memories, like just was always happy, always smiling. Any problem you had, you can talk to him and he would be there for you, literally. And just the adventures I'd had with him and with all the other guys, it's just countless. Like I can't even like bring one up to memory right now because it's just so many. But I can bring, like, let's continue one from soccer days. Like if you guys know me, you know I coached the City Knowledge team, me and Mohammed Salami, and we had amazing time doing that. And Binesh was always like number one. I want to play. I want to play. And I have a really good story about it. When a continuation of Sergio Ramos' story, actually, because he wanted the number 15, but someone else chose it, and he got so pissed for not getting that number 15. That's how much he liked and he wanted to be like Sergio, just because Sergio Ramos is like the best defender like ever to live. So like, and that's what Binesh was all day. Man, but he was a natural talent at the end of the day. Soccer, he didn't even have to join the team, never played soccer before, and he was like the best one already, which is like amazing. Natural talent for sure. And just so many memories with him, just and his smile and his laugh, and me going to his house. Oh, I need a ride. Pick me up. All right, I'm coming. Just a great guy in general, and always happy. And that's gonna be passed on to us. Like literally, we're always gonna remember Binesh till the day we die. We're always gonna thank Binesh for the good times. And like the only thing I can remember is the amazing memories I have of him. Like nothing else. He was an amazing man and full of life, full of joy. Just a great person in general. Like, and everyone would want to be his friend. You know what I mean? That's like, you could see with how many people came to the funeral and how many people are watching right now. It's just, and how many pictures we have. Like, oh my God, I have so many pictures with Binesh. It's insane. I don't even remember taking those pictures. That's the crazy part. But it's just, we're going to miss him so much. And inshallah, we'll see him again, inshallah. I think that's all I got for this.
Thank you, Brother Ali. It was beautiful. Again, I'm sorry, everybody. It's really hard. So finally, I'd like to introduce Dalia Al-Bassam to say a few words, please. Dalia, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hi everybody. It's been a really, really hard day for me. Some of you guys know Abraham was a really good friend. And when I moved to Berkeley, he was the only connection to home that I had. It was him and Amin. And it was really funny because I remember that trip, and I remember being thankful that I went with you guys, because like you looked up to Abraham. I really looked up to you, and I was thankful you were there. That trip, I just felt like it was a great trip for us. I do remember when Abraham was trying to convince somebody that he went to Harvard. I remember somebody was just on the verge of believing it. So in true Abraham fashion, he got very animated. The more hand motions he used. And I remember when Abraham, because I actually edited his Berkeley essay, he looked at me and he's like, maybe they'll read this, and after they see my grades would think, this kid is brave for applying to Berkeley. Let's let him in. So it was a great memory. I just had a little thing. So it was really tough that I couldn't make it to the burial. So I actually wrote a letter that I was gonna leave where he is. And I decided, maybe just share it a bit, help with a little bit of closure, because he was like a brother to me. So I just want to say, Abraham, I love you. We had such great memories. I'll never forget the time you faked sick to stay home and video game, and your mom found out and took away all of your video games. You then managed to walk 2 miles to my house. We came home from school and found you gaming on Hyder's computer. We still don't know how you got in. After that, my mom just decided to give you the key to our house because she figured it was easier. I always felt like we were raised under the same roof. I remember I woke up one morning and Musika was downstairs eating breakfast with my little cousins, and Abraham had just swung by to take a shower. And I was like, why are you here just to hog up the hot water? I got mad at him, but he just let himself in. I always thought we would grow old laughing with each other, not just grow up together. I just wanted to say thank you so much for that cupcake you got me on my 16th birthday. It meant more than you know. Thank you for driving me home after my high school graduation. Thank you for walking me home all those nights after the mosque. Thank you to you and Amin for moving me out of my dorm freshman year after I sprained my ankle. You guys showed up the next morning at 8 a.m. with food. I truly had no idea how I was going to do it. Yours were my only connection to home. Afshin, I want to say thank you for taking the subway 45 minutes and then walking a mile to visit me regularly after Talene and Dana passed. You were the only reason why I got through that. Second to last time I saw you, I remember we went hiking with the Berkeley MSA. We spent most of the time catching up, and you spent it reassuring me that it was okay to get a B in some of my classes. I didn't need to have a panic attack over it. And somebody who I just met as actually mistook you for Haidar, my older brother. They were like, oh, that must be your older brother, the way you guys act and behaved and had stories, and everyone could see just how important you were to me. And I know this is cheesy, but Abraham was one of the few people I could truly express myself with, but you know, his spirit is still here with us. I've been looking for him just in all of the places. The wind blew in the trees the other day, and I was like, Abraham, is that you telling me it's going to be okay? And when the cardinal was chirping outside of my window, I was like, Afshin, is that you? Thank you for coming. I just want your legacy to live on and bring cheer and joy like you did to everybody you met. And like Amin said, I will spend the rest of my life missing you. And I promise you, until I see you again, wallah, even my grandchildren will know your name. Thank you, everybody. That's what I wanted to say to Afshin.
That was beautiful. Oh, yeah, so beautiful. Before we get to the video, let's just take a moment and pause, take some deep breaths, and read Al-Fatiha for him, and then we'll get started with the video. Okay, right now we're gonna be playing a video created by Sister Sahar, the mother of Haidar, and Dahlia who just spoke, Al-Bassam, who were good friends of Ibrahim. After that, Ibrahim's sister Layla will say a few words, and then we will close whenever you're ready.
We learned from Ibrahim and what his way of life was. He was an extremely generous person, to the point that sometimes I would find it illogical, but he didn't care. He was still generous. He was extremely patient. He was very forgiving, and he was just so nice to everyone. He was nice to people who actually wronged him many times, but he was still nice to them. He, I guess, closed his eyes to the background, to what they did before, to all the negativity that he could have considered, and was just loved them and was very kind to them. And he just always, whenever anybody needed help, he closed his eyes to whatever background they had. Like even if they have wronged him, if, I don't know, you could say, I mean, if they disagreed with him politically, even for religion, if they, I guess, supported the people that they didn't like, whatever the reason was, he always closed his eyes to that, and he always was able to find love and help for them. So this is the way he treated people, and amazingly, this is how Allah treated him. Allah just took him, and I guess closing his eyes into his negative things and all the wrong things he did. And it's just amazing that you get treated by Allah the same way you treat others. And there's been so many signs and so many stories I could tell you about. I mean, I didn't even expect Ibrahim is accepted as Fatima Zahra's son. I mean, there's stories I can tell you about that. And it's just that I am just shocked at the level that he reached, and just the way Allah has been merciful to him. It's just amazing. All these things I'm hearing. There's a lot of things going on, and it just shows me that the way we act in our lives, I just things are not the way we think. Like the youth should know that it doesn't matter if you have done. I mean, not that it doesn't matter, but if you have done something wrong, Allah is very forgiving. And Allah will forgive you, but you need to have a pure heart. He did not have a shred of jealousy or any resentments towards anybody. He had completely pure, loving heart. And I think if you do just 2 rakat of salah with a pure heart is better than many years of doing salah and worshiping Allah. If you don't have a pure heart, which is empty from like jealousy or resentments. And usually, it's just we teach our kids, okay, do salah, do this, do that, deeds. It's all everything we do. But the fact is that what I find right now, when I lost Ibrahim, that the most important thing is your intention, your niyat. We have a saying that says al-a'malu bin-niyat, and that really manifested so vividly in the case of Ibrahim. He did make a bunch of mistakes. You know, he wasn't always doing the right thing, but he always did have a very pure heart, and he loved everybody, and he was just very nice and kind to people. And so I think what we should be concentrating on from now is working more on our intentions, on our hearts, and making sure that, you know, when we stand in front of Allah, praying or doing any deeds that we should do, check the heart. Make sure it's empty of jealousy, empty of resentments, empty of anything negative. And that's, I guess, the core of things. And I just want to say that his legacy is work on your heart. You have to do the deeds, but the deeds without a pure heart, it's just too much. I mean, they don't have just the value they're supposed to have. It's just all because he loved people, because he had a clean heart. It's not because he prayed too much or he did this or he did that. It's just the heart.
That was beautiful. It was such a beautiful video. Such beautiful words from Sister Fatima. Okay, next I'd like to ask Ibrahim's sister, Layla, to say a few words. Layla, whenever you're ready.
Layla, you're on mute.
Oh, hi, assalamu alaikum, everyone. First and foremost, on behalf of myself and my family, we just want to thank everyone for all of the love and support. It really means a lot. It's just beautiful to see after so many years of being here and there, we can come back together as a community and really feel that connection. I don't even think Afshin could imagine he could bring all these people together. So I hope he's watching us from above and smiling. But I've been trying to think of one thing that Afshin would probably want me to leave you guys with during this time. And I think it would be, anytime you have an opportunity to help someone, take the opportunity. Don't even question it, just do it. And just be someone that you could lead with your community, help others, and yeah, just have a good heart, as my mom said. I think Afshin is one of a kind, someone that I probably won't meet anyone ever like him again, but he will always be with me. And on behalf of Afshin, I would just say if he's wronged anyone or owes anyone anything, just let us know, or please forgive him, as he will be responsible. So yeah, thank you for everyone's love and support. We really appreciate it. Al-Fatiha.
Thank you, Layla, for those heartwarming thoughts. I know it's not easy. I can't imagine. But thank you for you and your family for just being so strong. Okay, so we've now reached the end of our program. I want to thank everyone again for being here today. I pray that inshallah, the thawab of today's Quranic recitation and program is sent to the soul of Ibrahim, as well as that of Sister Miriam Diab, beloved City of Knowledge parent who passed away on Wednesday, and Sister Anna Abdi, another very dear City of Knowledge parent and staff member who passed away a couple weeks ago, and all of the deceased loved ones, all of those who are present, and the rest of the mu'mineen. Thank you all so much for attending and taking the time. And I know it's unfortunate circumstances, but it was nice to see some familiar faces today, and I think we can all agree on that. So with that, the program is it's over. Salawat.
Let's end by Dua Faraj for the hastening of our Imam of the time. Let's read together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha for our brother Ibrahim Binesh, preceded by nice, loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you all for joining. That commences the memorial, and I'm sure people will be hanging around on this Zoom. Otherwise, keep Ibrahim in your du'as. And on behalf of the Binesh family and everybody who loved him, just read Surah Al-Fatiha and keep him in your du'as.
I think Sister Tayyiba has her hand up. You should be able to unmute now if you want to say something.
Yes, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. This is Tayyiba, very close friend of Sister Fatima, and I remember Ibrahim always called me Khalid Tayyiba. I'm in Iran. I'm in Mashhad, very close to the shrine of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Sister Fatima was here 2 weeks ago, just a week before this tragedy happened. She came over to our house because we had Dua Nudbeh on the Friday, and she joined us, and everyone in the family was here. And when we got this news, and I shared it with my cousins and my sisters, and everyone was so touched, because we all know life is too short, but this happened so sudden. As I remember Ibrahim when he was in his first or second grade in City of Knowledge with my son Samet, we have all good memories from Ibrahim and his family, especially his mom, who everyone called Sister Fatima. That's Angel, as she is an angel. I'm very sorry I'm not there. I could probably, if I had the opportunity, if I was in California, I would have helped them with their sorrow. But since this tragedy happened, I'm with them, with Layla, Sheila, and Sister Fatima. My heart is with you guys, with everyone. When I'm thinking about those days in City of Knowledge, I feel like it was yesterday. We all were together. My son Sarem called us from the graveyard, Wadi al-Hussein alayhi salam, and I shared with my daughter-in-law Fatima, Sarem's wife, and his little daughter Malika. We shared the funeral every step, but still, it would be different if I was there. I just want to say, I can't forget the love that Fatima, Sister Fatima Nasirian, gave to everyone, every single one who knows her. And this is the way Allah gave her back. She had so many orphans under her privacy, and when she cared about poor people, anytime we called for any problem, anything in the community, Sister Fatima was there. And this is how she raised her children. And Allah has given her back the way people are grieving. For Ibrahim, it's because of Fatima's love to everyone. I give my condolences to every one of you guys, especially Muhammad Salami and Amin, who are hurt very much. Thank you for letting me talk, Leila Jan. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and inshallah, we will join each other in Barzakh and in Wadi Salam when we go to the next level, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, Sister Tayyiba. And assuming that the Binesh family is still here, I'll check the participants list and willing to accept condolences. I think it would be a good time for everybody to share their condolences. I see Layla's still here.
We have one more hand raised. Sister.
Yes, we accept.
So if anybody has condolences they want to offer there,
I
feel
think
free to offer.
Qaisar, you can go ahead. I don't know if Nora is having trouble unmuting, but please.
Brother Qaisar, you can go ahead. I'll go after. It's okay.
Hey everyone. There's a lot of familiar faces and some familiar names I see here, and it's really unfortunate that we have to come together under these circumstances. But I want to say that actually I didn't realize that Abraham had such deep roots in Southern California until now. I got to know him serendipitously in Northern California through another character named Farshad. During one of Farshad's crazy antics, and that you guys might all know, he's a serial entrepreneur, and for somebody who is so socially awkward, he actually brings a lot of people together. One of the people that he brought together that came through the office at Social Plex when we were there was Abraham. And I just wanted to kind of offer up a few things was interesting because I didn't know Abraham for a long time. He just came through these doors, one of the many cast of characters. And when I first saw this kid, I was thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with him? And how can someone be, I was like suspicious of him. I was like, how can he be so happy and so fun loving and have so much energy? There's got to be something going on. And I think shocking life events like this really put things in perspective. And I think that's the main thing, right? Perspective is everything when it comes to these types of things. And so in hindsight, I take a look at this circumstance and I kind of wish I was more like him from the standpoint of he had a lack of sense of inhibition in all the right ways. And for all those times that we wish we could have done something or been somebody, he just did it. He would walk in the same way. It was like a sitcom every single time. And he had such a profound impact in such a weird way. I think not until I look back now, somebody who barely know this kid, I find myself here. I think that says a lot. And so many of you guys probably don't even know why I'm sitting here, but it was that short period of time that actually he had such an impact on my life. And so it brings me such great sadness to see this happen. And I'm so grateful that he could have had such an impact on my life in a way that's so moving. I think that really speaks to how I'd like to live the rest of my life. And I hope for all of us who are sitting behind and telling his stories, I think perspective is probably the key point here. Perspective for everything what we've done in the past and how we've seen each other and how we've crafted our relationships and how we are going to lead our lives moving forward. I think that's what this comes down to. And I think that's the biggest gift that I can take away from having interacted with this fine person. And I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you.
Noor, you can go ahead. I know you wanted to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Zainab, and thank you, Brother Qaisar, for those heartfelt words. My condolences go out to the Binesh family and Sister Fatima. This was shocking and absolutely heartbreaking news for me, a City of Knowledge alumni. Sister Fatima, you were my physics teacher. I remember to this day, you were like a mentor to me, and you are such an incredibly amazing and such a beautiful person inside and out, Sister Fatima. Just wanted to say that, and that inshallah, may Allah rest his soul in eternal peace. He was such a fun and joyous person. I remember his contagious smile through those videos and pictures, and his never forgetful different types. I vividly remember his different types of facial expressions. I remember Ibrahim Abdusato, he posted a picture on Instagram, and I commented on it, and I told him, till this day, I remember those different facial expressions he would make. But yes, sorry, I'm just at a loss of words now. Thank you for everyone for being here. It was nice to see everyone's faces, and inshallah, Allah yarhamu inshallah ya Rab. Thank you, you guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Farshad.
Assalamu alaikum. So as Brother Qaisar said, Binesh worked at my startup Socialplex back in the Berkeley days. And one of the funniest memories I have, Binesh was so social with people that when he worked in my office, he distracted everybody. Everyone wanted to laugh with him. He would joke with everyone. that I literally physically moved his desk outside of my office so that he would work outside, so that he wouldn't distract everyone. That's how much everyone loved him. Condolences. That's all I have.
Okay, we're gonna end with a dua faraj. Let's read together. You can read with me. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We ask Allah to hasten the return of our Imam of the time. Inshallah.
أحسنتم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. That's all I have to say. Today Ibrahim should have been sitting here mourning me, not me sitting mourning Ibrahim. But I say إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.